a narrow escape. Margallo liked it so well at the Littles' house she decided to stay for a while instead of returning to the open country. She and Stuart became fast friends, and as the days passed, it seemed to Stuart that she grew more and more beautiful. He hoped that she would never go away from him. One day, when Stuart had recovered from bronchitis, he took his new skates and put on his ski pants and went out to look for a pond. He didn't get far. The minute he stepped into the street, he saw an Irish terrier. So he had to shimmy up an iron gate and jump into a garbage can where he hid in a grove of celery. I guess he was afraid the dog was going to do him harm. While he was there, waiting for the dog to go away, a garbage truck from the Department of Sanitation drove up to the curb and two men picked up the can. Stuart felt himself being lifted high into the air. He peered over the side and saw in an instant that he and everything in the can would be dumped into the big truck. If I jump now, I'll get hurt, thought Stuart. So he ducked into the can and waited. The men threw the can with a loud thump into the truck, where another man grabbed it, turned it upside down, and shook everything out. Stuart landed on his head, buried 2 feet deep in wet, slippery garbage. All around him was garbage. Under him, over him, garbage. Garbage. An enormous world of garbage and trash and smell. It was a messy spot to be in. He had egg on his trousers, butter on his cap, gravy on his shirt. It was terrible. Still hanging onto his skates, Stuart tried to make his way up to the surface of the garbage, but the footing was bad. He climbed a pile of coffee grounds, but near the top, he found himself slipping and landing in a pool of leftover rice pudding. I'm going to be sick to my stomach, thought Stuart. He was anxious to work his way to the top of the pile. He was afraid of being squashed by the next can load of garbage. When finally he got to the surface, he observed that the truck wasn't making any more collections. We're going east, thought Stuart. I wonder what that means. I would be scared right now if I were Stuart. There was no way for him to get out of the truck. The sides were too high. He just had to wait. When the truck arrived at the East River, which borders New York City on the east and which is a rather dirty but useful river, the driver drove out onto the pier, picked up the garbage, and dumped his load. Stuart went crashing with everything else and hit his head so hard he fainted. He lay that way for almost an hour, but when he recovered his senses, he looked around him and saw nothing but water. The scow was being towed out to sea. Well, thought Stuart, this is just about the worst thing that could happen to anybody. I guess this is my last ride in the world. Nothing I can do about it. I'll have to sit here bravely. I wish I didn't have to die with egg on my pants and butter on my cap and gravy on my shirt. The thoughts made Stuart very sad, and he began to think of his home and his mother and his father and even Margallo and even Snowbell. How he loved them all. Tears came to his eyes when he realized he wouldn't see them again, but suddenly he saw a voice behind him. Stuart! He looked around, and there was Margallo. Margallo, how did you get here? Well, said the bird, I was looking when you left home. Sorry, boys and girls, just turning the page here with one hand. I saw you get dumped into the garbage truck. I flew out the window and followed the truck, thinking that you might need help.